Okay, so I actually wanted to make a video on the new Legendary Lucina and my thoughts on her, but I think I should make like two videos on that. Number one, like I'm kind of divisive, as everybody probably saw with the release of the video itself and how many people panned it. Like, how many people like disliked the video purely off of the reveal of it being Legendary Lucina? I think it's the best idea is just to keep like my opinion out of it and just look at the character for now. So right now, let's just talk about Lucina in terms of like stats and skills and what do you think about it. So Ether, like we had a short discussion about it. Like, what do you think about the new Legendary Lucina?
Like, personally, so when we all first got Legendary Lyn, the main thing we were hoping is she would be able to kill blue units. But yeah, so Legendary Lyn, even like when you had a plus attack Lyn, wasn't getting scoring that many kills, and that's just because her base attack is super low. And so with Lucina, now we have her bow. Every time she attacks a melee unit, she gets +4 to all stats. She has 3 more base attack than Legendary Lyn, and she comes with Swift Sparrow, so just straight off the bat, she's technically going to be better offensively. And I already like ran the calcs when the trailer first came out, so I already knew like she was gonna do all right. Of course, it's a legendary unit, so they can't make her too overpowered because then that would be more pay to win base. Yeah, the weapon only works if she attacks in sword, axe, lance, or dragonstone unit.
Let's go.
So, but yeah, like at +0, if you give her a Hone attack buff, she has enough attack to 1-round KO Zelgius, assuming she doesn't die from the counter attack. But if you look at her bulk, it's pretty good as well. She has 36 HP and 25 defense, and if she's fighting a melee unit, that's another 4 defense. So she has a respectable offensive bulk to tank a single hit. And then if you give her something like Desperation, she also has a good amount of speed because her weapon gives her +3 speed too. So just overall, she's a lot better off offensively than Lyn. And of course, like right now from the summer banner, Summer Young Tiki's running around. So she's also like good for beating most Tikis. Like, there's some ways you can get Summer Young Tiki to beat Lucina, but we don't talk about that.
Okay, so
Yep. And then she has her legendary assist skill, which is just really good. It's basically power creeps, quote unquote power creeps, all the movement assists except smite and half of shove.
I'll defeat you.
well, I guess the best thing to do is like fully to recap what she is first, and I guess that's like where we should have started.
Oh,
Yeah. And before we like go into opinions, just to set everybody on the same page, like, if we're gonna do the Legendary Lyn versus Legendary Lucina comparison, I think it's kind of a bit messy because whereas, okay, first of all, I don't like either the fact that either of them are colored archers. Colored archers I think are just so unnecessary in the game when you think about it because you already have the colorless pool being as weak as it is, right? So if we think about the best 5-star locked heroes in the colorless pool, you basically go to Legendary Grima, which isn't accessible most of the time. You go to Brave Lyn. Is there anything else? Because then outside special heroes, which we shouldn't really be talking about, because like I get like, okay, I guess there's Hinoka, but outside of like Legendary Grima, then you think about like, you know, Bridal Cordelia, then you think about Summer Takumi, then you think about Summer Lyn. You know, those are all special heroes, so we can't really talk about them in the same vein of things. I mean, else is there in general for the colorless pool, right? Not much.
I mean, there's like most of the dagger units have been demoted to 4 stars, so it's like mostly healers like Jenny. I mean, Elise still, even though like Maribel. Oh, it's reset pipe.
Oh, thanks, Anonymous.
It's been a long time. Here's to hoping that I stick around even longer. PogChamp.
13 months. Thank you so much, Anonymous. But yeah, you're definitely right. I mean, it's look, when we talk about the colorless pool, it's already by far the weakest pool, alright? So I, by default, disagree with having any colored archers, because the colorless pool cannot afford to lose out on these characters. Now, with Japanese game laws and things like that, it's too late. Like, they're always going to be colored archers nowadays. What they can do is keep making colorless archers, but they haven't been, right? Well, I guess they have been, but like, I'm more interested in normal pullable heroes being, you know, available there, or, you know, legendary heroes. At least that way, every month or a couple of months, you'll have another chance at them. So by default, Lucina doesn't fit that criteria, and I just don't like it from that perspective. But if we ignore all of that and you just look at like her bow, Thone, it's a great bow. Speed +3, along with attack speed, defense res +4 during combat, as long as you initiate anyways, against sword, lance, axe, or dragonstone. That's really, really useful. That's like a big portion of the meta, right? Sword, lance, or axe. If you're in tier 20, you're fighting a lot of armor heroes anyways. Sword heroes, especially infantry sword heroes, she'll do great against, because she'll have like extra attack, extra speed, well, extra everything. But so she can hold her own against the fastest of sword heroes, basically by default, thanks to Thone, as long as she initiates anyways. Future Vision is amazing. It's basically swap and dance at the same time. And as Ether said, you know, it expands your attacking range immensely, which is really, really helpful. She comes with Swiss Barrow, a great A skill, so you don't even have to spend on an A skill. Like Ether knows, I know, getting just freaking Fury is already infuriating enough. Swift Sparrows from a whole bunch of heroes, right? Like Brave Lyn, like WT Owen. But again, it's not that easy to get skills. So to have a great A skill is nice. Wings of Mercy on B, you know, it's kind of whatever. Ultimately, I think you'll go for Desperation, but, you know, still a nice skill to have, not to mention it's worth 240 points. And then Distant Guard, which is a really unique and interesting ability. Basically, as long as you're within 2 spaces, you get, you know what,
Distant Defense 2.
yeah, Distant Defense 2, right? That's really good. So her skills are amazing. And then when you look at her stats, she's also still really, really good, because she has 34 attack, 35 speed base, which just puts her basically on par with Cordelia, Bridal Cordelia, which is 35-35. So Bridal Cordelia has 1 more attack, but Lucina has a better base bow, which also gives her 3 speed, and not to mention, you're not going to want to switch off her base bow is what I'm saying. And not to mention, when attacking, she has a big advantage. Her defense is fine at 25, her res is okay at 20, her HP is pretty decent at 36, right? Like, she's a fine, good hero. And then you add to the fact that as a legendary hero, she is wind and she boosts speed. That's really, really good, because so far, I believe wind has only been res from... What was Legendary Lyn?
Legendary Lyn?
What does she boost?
I think is attack.
Okay, attack from Lyn and res from Gunthra. So yeah, Lucina's a pretty good mixture to put in there. Also, did you notice that with wind, you have 2 archers? What's with that?
Intelligent systems doing whatever they want.
I know, it's so strange, man. Either way, she's a great hero. So I think what we should be talking about, therefore, is like what she's really good at. And as you mentioned, she could take on even a hero like Zelgius, but I personally think that's kind of awkward. Now, I think you've given Legendary Lyn too little credit, because I think Legendary Lyn fits in the meta quite well, actually. There's a lot of blue mages. Now, from our perspective, at the higher end of tier 20, maybe it's not as applicable, but for everybody else, well, especially the lower tiers where you fight a lot of blue mages, I think she does a slightly better job, because as a green archer going up against a blue mage, I think that's like the most ideal situation. Whereas red mages are the rarest. I don't even think at lower tiers you really bump into red mages. So obviously, for Lucina to attack, say, a Katarina or a Tharja who naturally has lower defense, that's the ideal situation. But that doesn't happen very often. Instead, her most likely opponents are red infantry, which is still a good matchup, but not perfectly ideal, because if you look at, like, you know, Mia or Ira, that's like 30-something defense, and if you look at like Zelgius or at like the Black Knight, Arden or something, that's a freakishly high amount of defense. So even though yes, depending on the situation you'll get the kill, it's not as ideal, right? So for that reason, like, she doesn't fit in the meta as well as Legendary Lyn, I would say, but thanks to her bow, she does fit into the other criterias, versus dragons, versus dagger heroes, I believe was included, right? No, it was sword, lance, axe, or dragon. So all right, so she just does better against. She'll have help there, but for example, if you have her attack, say, into an Effie or something, how well is that going to actually go?
Like, not too well.
Yeah. And
with,
obviously,
like, a special proc, she can definitely score some kills on blue units, but at base, she just doesn't have enough base attack to punch through the tanky blue units.
And what about green units, you know? Because it's physical, because axe heroes typically are armored, unless you're facing against a raven, they're generally going to have a shit ton of armor, right? How's that going to go? It's like there's
doesn't go well. It's just like your normal weapon triangle. You normally won't have your green or your blue unit deal with green units. Like, you don't have your Noe try to tank a legendary Hector or something.
Right. No, I don't disagree with that. It's not ideal, but when we're looking at like the certain matchups, like, I can't just say like, all she should do is, you know, fight, you know, infantry. That's kind of really like red infantry. It's kind of awkward. But again, you know, that's really starting to nitpick because she's obviously going to be great against dragons as well, especially with like how freaking Noes are in the meta. But even then, how does she do against like a steady breath Noe?
What are you thinking?
Depends on the set. If Noe has lower defense, there's a good chance that Lucina can actually two-shot if you give her some attack buffs, because with 34 base attack, and assuming all her standard buffs are active, she'll have 56 attack, so it's not quite enough to two-shot Noe's, but you can like give her a special, like, I don't know, moonbow or something, and she could definitely take him out. Or you could do something like Flashing Blade Luna and also pick up a one-round KO. Like, there's options for her. At base, it's pretty good.
Time for a swim.
Because what I'm concerned with is like you go into these because okay, just to phrase this a bit better, from our perspective, where she's only going to be our arena assault hero, right? Where Ether and I at most are only going to get like one copy of her, and if we get a second copy, you know, chances are she's Swift Sparrow fodder. All right, like, wait, is this card fodderable?
Yeah, it is, because it has a number, so it's inheritable. And just while we're talking about that, I, as Paper DM'd me on Discord, Distant Guard gives your allies within 2 spaces +4 defense or res whenever you're just facing a ranged unit, basically. So it's not entirely distant defense too, but it's close enough.
Okay, that's it. Well, that's even
because
better.
Like close counter mages and stuff, you'd get the +4 defense and res.
That's a really interesting way of looking at it. But yeah, that's really good. Okay. Now I know what I said sounds a bit negative. Don't get me wrong. I think she's still excellent. I just don't think, just when we're doing a direct comparison to Lyn, I don't think it fits the meta quite as well. Though, don't get me wrong, I don't feel like Lyn fits the meta well anyways, because she also has the awkward moment of where she's like, how does like Lyn deal with armor heroes? She really doesn't. Like, even when she's up against Effie or something, she struggles, right? Or like, or if she goes up against, basically she's just anti-blue mages, but at least she has the thing going for her that like blue mages are actually fairly common. But yeah, outside of that, I just feel like she's an excellent hero, but she should have been colorless. If Lucina was colorless, now it does hurt her in some respects, but I feel like it would have overall been much better. because that way sword, lance, or axe, she would have much more even matchups, and I really don't feel like it would have hindered her in any significant way. Now, I guess if you're fighting like, you know, Zelgius, where you could have had a weapons triangle advantage, that would affect you, but in general, I feel like if she was just colorless, it would have been better off. What I see her as is a really good option for killing some dragons, especially red dragons. Really good option for killing a sword, infantry sword heroes. Pretty good option against lancers, outside of armored ones like FE, if it's against a FE or something, which is among the most common lancers. Lancers are actually pretty rare, if you think about it. So, in general, versus lancers, I don't really think, especially in our case where we're in like top 5k, top 3k arena, that's really pushing it for her limits. So, and obviously let's not even bother talking about greens, because green heroes are typically high defense anyways, and she would have to really rely on special. So, do you disagree with that? Like, what do you think she's going to be good at? What she should be doing?
Lucina? Like, for me, I was randomly lucky enough to free summon her. I got plus defense minus res, and defense happens to be a super boon, so I can use her like in arena assault, but otherwise,
Sure.
like points wise, you could get her to score pretty well in arena, but she's a legendary unit, so you're only gonna see her every few months on legendary banners. So you have to, if you're free to play, you have to save up a crud ton of orbs to try and get 11 copies so she scores well. So like feasibly like getting one of her is, if you have her, it's cool. If you don't, it's not the end of the world. But I'll definitely be using her for arena assault, because like being able to handle red units definitely helps, especially when you see stuff like Summer Young Tiki like almost every arena assault match, or you see Zelgius or things. Because like giving her an attack, she still needs an attack buff to kill Zelgius, but she can do it, and that's really what matters for me.
Like, I can't suggest anybody make a plus 10 version of her. I think you said of something very interesting that I didn't think about earlier, which was the fact that, oh, I guess the buff wore off. Okay, you said something really interesting about the fact that she could score as high as Noe, but she would have to be using close counter at plus 10.
Yeah.
That's mostly because of, you know, her unique assist skill and unique weapon, whereas Noe doesn't have those things available. Even though Noe would have much higher BST, they actually come out basically the same. So that's a really interesting perspective. So technically she is an option. In her case, what IVs would you even suggest?
I mean, there's so many options, but if you're gonna try to run close counter optimally, you'd probably go either plus defense or plus speed, depending on how your team buffs, because 35 base speed, like, some of us were like hoping for 36 since previous Lucinas had 36 speed at base, but she only has 35, so that plus 10 with close counter, she only has 39 speed, which basically means in tier 20 she's gonna get doubled a lot. So you could go plus speed, or you could just compensate by buffing for speed in your team and just run plus defense.
If I only had power.
I know. Jeez, Wings of Mercy with that conjunction.
Lunge OP, guys.
Okay. Anyways, she's a great hero. It's just... I didn't ask for this, man. What else am I supposed to say about it?